So for the past 2 years, I've been playing Ping G400 LST Driver, a driver that I've really enjoyed, and I've tried other drivers up against it and I've never gone away from it. Obviously, we've just seen the introduction now of the Ping G425. Done my reviews of this and it was performing very nicely. I like the look of it, the feel of it. So now I'm thinking, it's obviously 2 generations past now my G400. Is there a big enough difference there? Can the G425 knock the G400 out of my bag? Right, okay, so we're going to start off with my gamer. So as I say, I've been playing Ping G400 LST low spin. It's an 8.5, just set at 8.5. I haven't done anything with the neck sleeve to change the loft or the lie of this particular club. And now I have got this fitted with a Speeder 757 Evolution 5 shaft in an X-Flex. It is cut at 44.35 inches, so it's a little bit shorter than their standard. The one I've got in the 425 is exactly the same. It's 44 3/4 built to my sort of spec. The only difference is this shaft is different. Now, unfortunately, I can't take this shaft out of the 400 head and put it in the 425. The reason being is after the 400 model, Ping did change the neck sleeve and they changed it to up to 1.5 degree of loft up and down. So unfortunately, it's not compatible into the new 425. So unfortunately, I can't change it. So I have got the Tensai Orange 65 in X, again, same length in the 400. So there is a little bit of difference of shaft between these two. But as I say, I want to look at the head. We're going to look at some numbers. Things I want to maybe look at through this test is dispersion. Obviously, very important for me. Distance maybe isn't a huge tipping point for me, but probably dispersion is the key really, and maybe that consistency of the ball flight, the spin, you know, and if I can gain a few yards, that's really the cherry on the top of the cake, isn't it? But more interested in sort of that dispersion. So obviously we're going to look closely into that. Okay, let's get underway with my G400. Okay, and that's a lovely opener. As I say, I'm really confident with the driver, and over the years when I've played a bit, driving off the tee was never my most strong point. So, you know, I was always flicking between drivers. I used to go to one that worked for a bit, and then it used to sort of go off the boil. It's probably a lot of you guys may have gone through this experience when you're playing. You know, you get a new drive and it's like, oh God, this is brilliant. And then all of a sudden it sort of goes a little bit. Then you get another one and that sort of goes quite nicely. And you flit and change. That's pretty much what I've done through my sort of golfing career, in honestly. So this one's been in the bag, say, I think just over 2 years now. So that's probably the longest I've had a driver in the bag. And I've not had an inkling to change it. So I'm really interested to sort of see if this 425 does anything better. You know, initial reviews we saw a little bit tight on dispersions. Once it was quite a straight flying golf club, so be interesting to sort of see. That's a good strike. A little bit of left to right on that shape, but a lovely flight. It's nice and flighted. It looks to be controlling a bit with that spin. Yeah, 2,100. That was a nice spin number for a little left to right shape. Right, okay, so I've hit 6 shots there with my G400. I'm going to move into the G425. I'm going to hit 6 with that, and then I'm going to go back to my 400, hit 6, and then back again to the G425. Okay, so G425 LST, of course, it's a 9 degree. They don't do an 8.5 now. It's a 9 degree head set at 9 degree. And obviously we've got adjustability. In comparison to G400, there's no adjustability. We've now got adjustability with the weight at the back, but I'm going to set that in the center position. So I'm not going to change that. I'm not going to put it draw or fade. Typically, I'll just have it set pretty square for me. So obviously just a quick look at differences between the two heads in that playing position. Very, very similar on that shape. a little bit quieter on the look of the club with the 425. Obviously we don't see the dragonfly, that's now hidden. It's still there, but it's now hidden underneath, so you don't see all that pattern on the top. Turbulators are maybe just a little bit more pronounced, but not huge, not in your face. It's not offensive. I quite like the turbulators, to be honest. And the little back section, little grooves there on the back of the crown towards the back edge, a little bit quieter. So it is a more quieter looking head as you look at it, but again sits super square, which I really like. Okay, and that's not a bad opening shot there. Look to climb a little bit there. Be interesting to look at that spin number on that. Yeah, 2695, a little bit high, just seemed to climb a tiny bit. Noticeable there though, the sound. That did sound quite a bit louder than my 400, very noticeable. That's a lovely flight again. Definitely a little bit louder sound. That's the first thing that sort of jumps out, a little bit louder with the G425, but some sort of nice sort of results in those first few four shots. Okay, so there's 6 shots hit with the G425. As I say, sound is pretty different there, a little bit louder. Dispersion though, first glance there, looks to be a little bit tighter, both front to back and also left to right, which are good signs. So let's move back into my G400 LST, another 6 shots. All right, so back in the G400, back to my look I'm used to, big dragonflies on there. Yeah, little bit off the bottom, just peeling a touch up that right hand side. Not by much, that spin might again go up. The ball speed was good at 164. Yeah, 2,900, a little bit low in the face strike, but again, the sound is much quieter. It's not as tinny as that 425. I do prefer the sound of that 400. Now I've just hit it side by side and flipping between the two. Right, so there's another 6 shots, so 12 shots in total now hit with that G400 LST. We're now going to switch back the final 6 shots with the G425. Okay, so back in the G425, last 6 shots. A little bit up that left hand side, but again, it's a good strong flight. Definitely louder. But I'll tell you what, that is a really good flight on that. Really enjoying that flight. That's giving me 282 carry, 2.5 spin. And that's a nice one again to finish on. Okay, oh, I think this is going to be close. I knew it was going to be close, I just knew it was. Okay, so let's go and look at some numbers. There's 12 shots hit with both the G400 LST, my game at the moment. I had it in the bag for a couple of years, up against the brand new, just released G425 LST. Let's go and see which one is winning. Okay, so obviously first thing, which was an important one for me that I mentioned earlier in the video, is dispersion. We've got to obviously try and keep that golf boy play as much as we can off that tee, don't we? And you can clearly see there that the new G425 is just a bit tighter on that dispersion, both front to back and also left to right, a little bit more consistent on the shots. You know, obviously I had a longer one there with the G400 and maybe probably 1, 2, 3 that were actually the longest shots I've hit. But obviously, you know, left to right dispersion is also important. So just pipping it, G425 on the dispersion front. And then if you have a little look from a different view, side on and also bird's eye view of the shots, again the white now is the G400, so you can see I've obviously had a couple, that sort of left miss in there, which is one that can creep into my game quite easily. Recently started hitting a little bit more left to right shapes, which you can see the majority of there, which I quite like, to be honest. And looking at it from a consistency of where that ball launches out, again my subtleties of strike will change that a little bit. But then we've just flipped that into the yellow, which is the G425. You see just a little bit tighter, which obviously saw in that dispersion rings there. So again, a little bit of the left one in there, touch of that right one where I've slightly overcut it. but a little bit tighter, a little bit more consistent, and also the window the ball comes out of is a little bit tight and a little bit more consistent as well. And then looking into the all-important numbers, so we've got the G400 on the bottom, 12 shots, G425 on the top, 12 shots. So look at the averages, club head speed, identical as you're going to expect. It was the same length of shaft, pretty much the same weight of shaft as well. You can see ball speed on average was a little bit quicker with my G400, so 163 against 161, so 2 mile an hour quicker on average, which is interesting. Launch angle pretty much identical there, 11 degrees, and spin you can see 2578 with my G400 and 2385, little bit lower spin on an average. Again, strikes around that club face is obviously going to change that as we know, but I'll look at it as an average, which is where we've got to look at it really. A little bit lower spin with the new 425. So looking at distance then, you can see 279 or just short of 280, we'll call that 280 on that carry against 284 with the G400. So that little bit more ball speed there, and maybe that little bit more spin just keeps the ball in the air that touch longer, which just maximises your carry, 3 yards difference of that total, and a little bit more efficient on those batch of shots with my G400. Right, okay guys, so there we go. There's the G425, the new one, against my gamer, the G400, my loyal driver. It's close, isn't it? It is really close. I mean, as I say, looking at dispersion wise, you're going to say, well, G425 is just winning it on that front. In terms of distance, you could possibly argue, and I'm not fussed if I give up 4 yards, was it? 3 yards, whatever it was. It's not the end of the world, is it? But obviously, if we're going to take it as a distance club, the G400 is actually a little bit more. Again, strikes will just subtly change that, and possibly that slight difference of shaft in the clubs itself. Again, I couldn't get that speed into that. I'd love to get that speeder into that 425 head, just to get a complete equal comparison, but unfortunately I can't at the moment. So it's close, isn't it? I think the sound of it, I did much prefer the 400 personally. It wasn't quite as tinny. Would you get used to that sound? Possibly over a period of time. Yeah, you possibly could. I did like the fact that was a little bit lower spin as well. It's a close one, isn't it? It's really close. But do you know what? It's hard to decide now, and what I want to also do, and this is going to probably be a separate video, is I was very impressed with the G425 Max driver head. Very stable, I found it. It was very straight hitting. I think other reviewers have also seen that feedback and those results through their review videos. So again, going back to what I said early in the video, dispersion is really important to me. So I'm going to want to try this the Max head up against my LST. Again, it'll be interesting to see if the spin difference is much more with it being not a low spin head, or is it so much tight on that dispersion? Can I afford to give up a little bit more, of a few yards there? If I can hit more fairways, that is a big box to be ticked on my front. So maybe that video is coming your way. But between these two, it's so close, isn't it? You know, and I've done this in the past. Drives have been very, very close. I've just stuck with what I know, G400, and that might be the case in this thing. But again, I want to put that Max into the equation and test that also. So that video will be coming soon. If you've enjoyed that test, post your comments down below, let me know your thoughts. Was that something you would expect, or were you sort of expecting G45 to do so much more distance and performance? It'd be interesting to know. We know G400 is a cracking driver. I think that was a big game changer for Ping at the time. 400 was a very, very good driver and still is. Okay, post your comments down below. If you enjoy the content put out there and you don't want to miss another video, make sure you ring that bell if you've subscribed. If you haven't subscribed, make sure you hit that subscribe button, of course, and hopefully we'll catch up with you all very soon.